Hello everybody and welcome back. Hi, how are you all today on this Thursday, 6th of June? Can you believe it? 6-6. Wow, here we are with some more tarot for you and moving through the actual sword family, all about our thoughts and our communication. So, come and say hello before I start and tell you a little about this card. Quite a lot actually, but there you go. Do say hi. I'd love to hear from you, and please feel free to message anything you would like to ask. I've just put a link on there for you right now, so that's where you can actually join us as a guest if you want to. So that should be coming up on all platforms, so Facebook and Twitch and yeah, YouTube of course. Right, so we'll give people a moment or two to actually come in and join us. I'll play you the link and then we'll jump right into the Nine of Swords. Okay, I'm just moving my chair forwards. I'm stuck to it actually, it's so hot here. Mustn't complain, but it was rather hot. So, hi everyone, I'm Tarot with Anne-Marie and I have a strategy to put tarot together. And it's often overlooked, the systems of actually using spreads or understanding the basic concept of what each card means. Now I've created a system focusing on card pairings, but tonight we're doing a single card and I use a unique spread for a much more profound reading. Stick with me and you'll find out more about that. And if you're ready to add a strategy to your tarot practice, you're in the right place. So tonight, this is my Learn One Tarot Card series, which is a series we've been going since October and we'll be going until next May, would you believe? And it's all about this approach that I use. And today we are starting by uncovering the secrets within the Nine of Swords. So if you want to check out any more, check out my complete mini courses on my website, tarotwithanmarie.com. So the Nine of Swords. This card pictures a woman troubled and in distress. She's got things hanging over her, which are those Nine of Swords. And in this darkened room, the 9 swords hang on the wall over the left side of the bed, showing that they are impacting her mental state. This leads to her thoughts, fears and expectations and some sorrows not being tempered by understanding the emotions or the wisdom of her thoughts. The hilts, which is the handle of the swords, form an interlocking pattern, a neat pattern behind her. Her past is firmly set in order within her mind and feeling unescapable. And everything is blocking her from clearing her thoughts. 3 of the swords are in line with her body. If we look, one's passing behind her heart, which is triggering emotional pain, causing her to reflect with worry over her losses. There's another one lining up with her throat, showing worry over words and communication. It's the swords, and all things that have been said or unsaid. There's one passing above her head, which represents her mind and concerns specific thoughts, opinions, beliefs, and bringing a lot of mental anguish. Her mind is being tortured by what might happen when or if those swords come crashing down, and if there ever need be to use what's happened and how things have panned out for her in the past. Her grey nightgown suggests her vulnerability, But there is sincerity in seeking peace and a deep desire to rest. Yet she's plagued by her mind, which stops her from recharging, leaving her full of anxiety as she contemplates her fate. In the original image of the Nine of Swords, her hair is blonde. In this deck, it's grey. If it's blonde, it can show that there's a need to be rescued from naivety and feelings that she cannot cope. Whereas in this card, we can see that it's leaving her unable to face her fears. The grey is obviously the opposite, and it's a sign of maturity, not naivety. And so there's wisdom, but this wisdom is not felt at this particular place or time for Our Lady. The grey hair shows that her worry is very intense, leaving her disconnected from her wisdom. And the weight of the swords hanging over her is full of words, actions, beliefs, and attitudes. She's fearful, and she feels that things are under threat. Hi, passionate Saggy. How are you? Are you well? Yeah? How are you doing? Working, or have you got a moment to be able to just be able to tune in and do this for you? Lovely to see you. Yeah, it's good. Please do say hi, anybody that's watching. Always nice to have you on board. Okay, gonna have to forgive me. I've got a hair in my eye. So annoying. Okay, so the weight of the swords are hanging over her head, and this connects to it being full of communication and full of words, actions, beliefs, and attitudes. She is fearful of the perceived threat. She may believe that due to her experience that she should and must know the answers, yet she's struggling to find the ones that she needs. Hi Carla, how are you? How are you doing? Okay. I'm a human, and you know what? When you've got fine hair like me and it goes right over you and it's a hot sticky day and you had to turn the aircon up, you have to forgive me. So, are you all right, Carla? Yeah? Good to see you. Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. My goodness me, I've got your full attention. Oh, gosh. Right. So you must ask any questions as we go along, passionate Saggy. Okay? I'm melting, by the way. You wouldn't believe the heat here today. And just insane. I have never felt anything like it before. Okay. So, there's a lot of old wounds that needs healing here. And it's still haunting this figure in our Nine of Swords card. And this places an extra burden on her already overstretched mind, leaving her facing the new day with confusion, and the last day still wearing her down, and she sits in scrutiny of herself and her insecurities. So she's sitting in bed where we're meant to be resting, and the subconscious mind is trying to work through the issues. But that's normally what we do, isn't it? Instead, look at her. She's bolt upright, head in her hands, full of despair. Her mind's racing, churning, busy and unable to shut off, and she worries about worry, either projecting her fears onto the future or going over something that's already happened. Her pillow is a beige neutral colour, so it's a safe place for her to rest. Her mind is trying to sleep and find a new order to her thoughts by shutting them out for a while. But in her current state, that's not available to her. So this is leaving her tired and stressed, and she does not see things clearly as her mind turns the shadows of the swords into the dark room, into this mental torment and overthinking. Look at her mattress, it's very thin. That shows a lack of comfort. So there's nothing to soothe her or comfort her mind or her body when she's lying down, and she might feel that hardness of that bed that's beneath her. If we look at the bed, we can see a carving. Two people are fighting. You see that below her? It's showing that she's concerned with both the intellectual and the emotional confrontations, and maybe even physical ones. And below where her head would lie, she's trying to sleep on and try and get the issues to see them more clearly. So she's trying to sleep on it. She can't sleep. And so what she wants is clarity and to gain an understanding. Yet this scene shows one person being defeated by another with a sword, bringing the total number of swords in this card to 10. So look at that scene below her in the bed, the carving. So in actual fact, although we've got 9 swords, to the left of our figure, we've also got the carving below showing an extra sword. Interesting. So 9 as a number is about wishes, completion, or almost completion, and wanting to resolve any leftover issues. So the carving is showing that we've got this balance, and this can show that her mind is focused or triggered by things that have happened a long time ago or have passed ages ago. So this is echoed by the bed itself, because remember, it's wooden, and it looks like a wooden chest, doesn't it? Almost like a blanket box, a place where we put our keepsakes or our memories, and she's lying on top of that. And within these memories are events that probably go back years. Remember, swords is very open timing. There you go, giving away something of how you can actually calculate timing. With swords, in the system that I teach, it's open. There is no timing. Sleeping on her past situations will cause the future to be blighted by fears that get out of hand. And that's all being created by events that have long gone or gone by. Look at the bedspread. The design features red roses and the signs of the zodiac. Hey, hello, welcome. I've not seen you before. Hi, how are you doing? Lovely to have you along. Thank you so much, Tarot Star. Lovely that you've said hi. I really do appreciate it when people come in and say hi. It's wonderful. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So the red roses, we were talking, sorry, let me go back. I got interrupted in my train of thought there. The bedspread has these design features of red roses. And if we look carefully, we can see the signs of the zodiac. So if you look at the red rose, you can see all sorts. I see Sagittarius there, and you would need to look closely, but it's there, I can assure you. Okay, and the red roses have got a yellow background, and that symbolises a desire for growth, change, and movement, and to go within, just like the magician. She wishes to be grounded and creative enough to find her way forwards and for her feelings to be allowed to grow. She perhaps needs to lie down and cover herself, and the energy that she would gain from laying down and covering herself would help her find some calmness. And yet this bedspread that's mixed with the zodiac symbols against a blue background represent a sense of something being fatal that's covering her. If she lays down and covers herself, it'll make her feel pinned down by all her worries even more. So that's what that covering is all about. So she's thrown it off, and now she's sitting overwhelmed and concerned about maybe what dreams or night terrors have been in her mind. But even before she sat up, It's weighing on her legs, stopping her from walking away from her concerns. In her worry, she needs to relinquish her control and to let her destiny start to play out and do its bidding. And fate will resolve her problems, even though it's only built up in her mind. The passage of time can be linked to her problem, as the 12 zodiac signs can be linked to the times that's gone by, or even to projections of or fears of times that are yet to come. So the zodiac represents all the personalities, of course. So her worry might be about the welfare, actions or beliefs of others, or how she can help avoid or heal from her connections to others. And this leaves her with a big worry, not just about herself, but also about the bigger picture in her life. When the morning light comes, it'll illuminate the room, and she may see that the shadows are gone and that her fears are not founded. Yet that alone might not be enough, as she will see harsh swords. There are truths and fears hanging on top of her. Often we can look at this as the worry card. Sleep's being affected when we see the arrival of this card. Yet it shows that you're feeling isolated and consumed by thoughts that make life a living nightmare. And fears are often not founded, but exaggerated by a complete lack of clarity, leaving us filled with anxiety, hopelessness, no escape from an issue because it's affecting us psychologically. Number 9 in numerology is inspiration, honesty, and understanding. So I'm going to just I want to give you some keywords, so let me just find that. Here we go, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I'm going to grab a sip of water. So here's some keywords for you, and then I'll carry on. So, thank you so much for giving me a moment to have a sip of water. Worry, and a bit more worry, isn't it, this card? So there'll be anxieties and concerns over a situation, yet the fear and anxiety won't be the result. It never is. It's just what we're feeling. And sleep might be lost, and that means it's a loss of focus, and that's when things start to go wrong, or can go wrong, should I say. While you project your fears onto a situation, time is lost, and it's unnecessary, isn't it, in this world of sorrow and despair and angst. So it's a card of trying to let your worries go, because the results would be much better than you actually think. So when this card comes up, a 9 of Swords is bringing upset, doubt, and endless worry. And there are feelings of concern, hopelessness, anxious, perhaps to do with the past, the present, or sometimes the future situation. The mind is awash with doubt. And past events can go round and round in our mind, replaying the tiny, small details and analysing the events, and sometimes filling us with guilt, regret about the actions taken or, of course, not taken. Yet the future of a forthcoming event can be shown, and that's, we're looking at it with a pessimistic frame of mind, as it were, because we're worrying about things that can go wrong. We'll do it. Nerves can rattle you as you face something with crossed fingers, hoping for luck to be on your side. Maybe it's something like, I used to look at this card when I was training. I was a driving instructor, and it always spoke to me about pupils that were saying, oh, I don't want to take this driving test, I'm so scared. And I used to say to them, you know what, I totally get it, and I know how much you want it, but you can take it again. It's not like one strike and you're out. You can keep going until you get it. Why are you putting yourself under this pressure? I had no reason, to know why. We just do, don't we? And most people are like that. I don't want to take the exam, I don't want to take the test. So I would look at this as the fear of the 11th hour. You can't wait to go for that exam because you're hoping to qualify, and that's going to change, and you're not going to be studying. And then you get to this point where you go, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to admit that, it may go wrong. And I think it's because we think, I just want it to stop and for it to be over. And that's perhaps, why I always say to people, it's like the 11th hour, it really is. So there's a real fear where we concern ourselves with the situation and we just bring this confusion in. And then we hope to cope when it arrives, don't we? So it can leave us feeling very helpless in the face of an oncoming disaster. And that might be real or imagined. Sometimes this card can imply that we are making a mountain out of a molehill. So this is definitely a card of bringing in the sleepless nights, and shows sleep issues as apprehension is setting in. And the once logical swords are now found seated deep in our emotions. The Nine of Swords indicates that while the thoughts and fears intrude upon our lives, it can affect us on many different levels, and that the worry is probably uncalled for. So whatever irrational fears you're being subjected to is probably far worse than the actual reality of the outcome that's ahead of you. The bad things you think will happen will probably not occur, or will be much easier than you think. This can be about old trauma, which can represent itself, issues buried deep down. Things that are trying to come up from the past, showing all sorts of different difficulties or abuse that's affected us on a mental level. And that can leave us feeling quite haunted by the past. This is a couple more keywords for you. The 11th hour, anxiety, worry, fear, depression, nightmares, inner turmoil, deep-seated fears, secrets, and also releasing worry. So we've got a Nine of Swords showing this woman sitting in bed with her head in her hands, and she appears to have been jolted awake from some sort of terrible nightmare that's left her disturbed, and she's scared and anxious. And so those 9 swords that's hanging on that dark wall behind represent her negative thinking, and that's about everything that's weighing really heavily on her mind. And again, look at the base of that bed. It's a carving as if she's laying on a box, but that carving is of one person defeating another, and the roses and the outlines, the astrological symbols adorn that quilt that's wrapped around her. So this is a card that suggests that dark thoughts are disturbing your feelings and weighing down upon you and keeping you up at night. Perhaps we're worrying excessively about the situation, and negative thoughts are getting the better of us, are leaving us feeling very stressed and anxious. And the more we associate with fear, the more it rules our lives. We can become obsessed because we're going over what's not working, and we become more and more anxious. And of course, then we're depleting ourselves in health matters. If we are overthinking, we're probably not resting. If we're not resting, we're probably not nurturing ourselves. And so it goes on. And so we become much more anxious with worry, and things are more likely to kind of go wrong because we've not had our rest, and we're not thinking logically, and we're not our healthiest, are we? Okay, I've got some more to say, but I wanted to share a couple of things with you. If anybody's got any questions, now is a great time to actually ask, and you're welcome to come on as a guest if you want to. Can I show you my website? Because this is where you can find a little bit of help if you are looking to actually take your tarot level further. I do courses, they're mini courses, you can choose which one. So let me just pop that on for you. Okay, so you can see that this is my website, and sorry, my controls were blocking what I'm looking at. Yeah, so you can see just on the top there, Tarot with Anne-Marie, and there's the courses. Now, when I do Tuesday nights, when we're doing tarot twists and showing you how to do pairs, which is my signature method, and if you've missed that, do tune in, subscribe, and then you'll be notified, and press the notification, of course, and then you can find whenever I'm coming live. It's Tuesdays, Thursdays, 5 p.m. UK time. But we're running on Thursdays with one big card, and then I'm showing you how to use a method of pairing and fusing your cards. So I'm already giving you an awful lot of help by saying that's the method, and it can really change the anxiety of what do I say about that card, because you've got two. All right, so make a note of that. If you've not followed me before, I really would say so. That then leads to the course, the intermediate course, which is part 1, okay? And you can take it even further. And by the way, there are all the beginners courses or intermediate of, I've done the court cards separately, swords, you name it, whatever you want to do. But the method that I'm kind of steering you towards, how to be a professional reader, you want the intermediate and the advanced. But if you don't know your cards, go back. The mini courses are there. Select what you want. So that's intermediate part 1, and this is my signature course, part 2, and this is the advanced. All right. Now, what you're going to end up getting to be able to do, and this is all video based, and then you've got the support here on Tuesday and Thursday with me, is you're going to end up looking at, if you want to go up to advanced, you'll be looking at a spread just like you see here. And that is how many cards I use for a 5-minute reading or a 5.5-hour reading. And yes, I do those. Saturday was 6, one person. Yeah, that's why I need all those cards. And you might go, why? I'm not going to share that with you because that's their business, but people have a lot of questions when they are responsible for a variety of people and things, and they want that impartial advice that comes from this method. Okay. So here we go. Let's go back to our lovely sword family. I need to put my controls back so I can see what's going on. 6 people on YouTube. Thank you very much. Hi Twitch, whoever's watching on Twitch, how are you doing? You're welcome to say hi. And if you're enjoying watching this, Go and subscribe onto tarotandread.com on YouTube, and then you won't miss when it's on. Twitch can tend to sometimes strange things have happened. Tarot cards, by the way, everybody, do actually have figures, and sometimes, like the Lover's card, Adam and Eve, they can appear nude, or like the Star card. And using the Rider-Waite, which I must use to teach you because that's where it's all based on, well, you know, they can ban you on Twitch for nudity. Not me, of course, but it's in the image of the card. So then you can end up going, right, okay, I'm banned for a couple of weeks because the card showed nudity, which I couldn't really avoid. I'm not going to scribble over, you know, the parts that could be seen as, that's a bit silly when there's tarot cards all over everywhere. That's my point. If you're enjoying it on Twitch, there are things that happen different to being on YouTube. So I'm just going to say that. Right, so if you are obsessing in a Nine of Swords about things that aren't working, you're making yourself much more anxious. And, you know, then you become what it is. You're an anxious person then, because it becomes a negative cycle. Because one awful thing starts happening, and then it leads to another and another, and then it overwhelms us. So the Nine of Swords are stacked up against each other, aren't they, over that wall, and so are those negative thought patterns. So the fear and worry in the Nine of Swords can often be a self-fulfilling prophecy. My point being, if you tell everybody that that's what's going to happen, you know, like attracts like. More to the point, if you are laying awake worrying about everything that's actually going on, you're probably not at your best. And then you're clumsy, or you're tired, you're not able to concentrate, and that's when things start getting out of hand, because it's affecting you. On that mental level, you're deprived of sleep, you're not sharp. It can just be a whole thing that starts like that. Then you become oversensitive, then it's a pattern, and it goes on. And so we start obsessing, don't we, about even more things that are likely to go wrong. And then we start looking at the worst case scenario because it's just happened. And we start to act in ways that support our negative thoughts. And so, you know, we are always stressing about the outcome. The more that anxiety gets pushed into, you know, us being very disconnected from other people and wanting to avoid that negativity that's kind of coming along with us. And then we start manifesting what it is that we're worried about. So, you know, if you're a black cloud and you keep doing that, people are going to go, I can't console you, you know, I don't know what to say to you, and so therefore, you know, perhaps I'll just leave you to it. So the Nine of Swords tells you you need to break that cycle. And so when those negative sort of thought patterns start to come up, got to look at taking accountability and start looking at, does it matter? You know, positive, same as I say, if I fail the exam, I have to restudy. Don't want to, but why am I stressed about it? I've done it. I'll get there. I'll get that result. I'll have to keep going. Inconvenient, very frustrating. Oh, you're humiliated. That's the ego, you see? So the Nine of Swords reminds us that much of this fear and worry is in our heads. It's not really an accurate reflection of what's happening. Nightmares can actually blow things up for us to feel much worse about things, can't they? And so we might be making things much worse for ourselves by overthinking and going into that worst case scenario. So it's time to examine the situation and get a new perspective when this card comes up. And instead of looking for the evidence of what's going wrong, got to focus on what's gone right. Got to take a deep breath and realize that life is not as dreadful as it seems. And the more we worry, the more we're harming ourselves. The Nine of Swords really kind of crops up where somebody is saying that they're not really sleeping well, and maybe they're experiencing some frequent nightmares, or they are concerned about what their dreams mean. So those constant thoughts really can prevent us from looking at what the reality of the situation is. Remember, the Swords is about our thinking, and overthinking, overloading doesn't help. And even just looking at the scene, you know, head in hands, the 11th hour, woe is me, and it's like, sleepless nights about what? You know, you'd be much better off just trying to rest, let your thoughts roll, but very difficult, isn't it, when you're in that position? Okay, I'm going to, got a few more things to say yet again, ask if anyone's got any questions, but quite recently I put together everything that we've been doing as a podcast. So if you are on YouTube, there it is, and this is the Learn the Tarot podcast, which is the Thursday, today, where we study one card. The lessons are running from the day I started in numerological order, and so we've got the Fool, the Magician, High Priestess. I've done all these, so you can go back and have a look at each individual card. Yeah, it was alive, but what I've done is I've edited it. It took a lot of work so that, you know, you don't have to sit through all of that, and really and truly there's no comments with other people in there unless they're incredibly relevant. So I've tried to make it that it's condensed rather than when I come on and we have a chit chat. So lessons on there. So that's what my YouTube channel looks like, folks. So that's where you're going if that's what you want. All right. And so, you know, the astrology symbols on this, you know that I do a lot of astrology. And so I combine that, and look, there you've got the evidence of the zodiac signs on the bed. Great question. Right, did I say there is a sword in the carving of the bed? Yes. Hold on a minute. Right, this might not work, but yeah, it should. I'm going to try and expand this if possible. Ooh, can you see it? Let me know when you can see it. Yeah? So the question was, is there a sword in the carving of the bed? Yes. If we look, we can see, as we look at it, the figure on the right, and you can kind of see that somebody is doing that, and the other person has been defeated. So, yeah, hopefully. Can someone just let me know? Hi, Danny. Sure, you can ask a question. Is it about tuition? Yeah, it's not readings. People get confused. Possibly. I'm going to try and bring my card back. Sorry. Everyone could see that. Yeah? Okay. I just want to make sure that I have got other scenes, but I'm just going to lock that overlay now. Okay. Would that be like the Four of Swords in terms of meaning? Yeah. It's got, and again, you know, what we've been seeing with the swords, the story, you can see it. Brilliant, you can see it. Danny G, are you going to ask a question about the Nine of Swords or tarot in general, not having readings? Yeah, you know, I'm explaining to people how the card works, and I just want to be clear that. Sorry, I'm busy reading your question and then putting it back on there. So yeah, you can ask anything you like as long as it's based on tarot, but I'm not doing readings. You know what would be really nice, what I had hoped for, is that we will get to the point, and I'm confident we will, that there'll be people that actually, there's enough of us to say that we can offer a reading to someone, but we're going to make the viewers read for the other viewer. You see what I mean? You know, that someone's saying, oh, I'd really like to have a go doing a reading for someone, and the reason I want to have a go is you're going to tell me, you know, what more I could say, or you're going to help me if I freeze, or you know, or you're going to say well done, or I'd like your honest opinion, am I doing okay, whatever. I hope that we'll get to that point, but we wouldn't have started being able to do that at that early stage, as in just starting out. And you know, we're only moving into the minor arcana as in for the last 9 weeks, aren't we? So there we go. So Danny G, ask away. You're welcome. Right. So yeah, there's sorry, my point was that when we are moving through the sword family, one of the biggest examples, and I think it was an excellent sort of point that comes up in the tutorial on the Six of Swords. You know, I said a lot of stuff there that it's a good idea to go back to that tutorial, and that can really help. Yeah, I think the excellent point. I've not ever heard connected to the Lord of War. I've not heard that before. You see, Danny G, we're not actually looking at the star card, but quite happy. Sorry, I'm answering 2 questions. Let's go back to. I'm going to do this and I'll come back to you, Passionate Sergio, if I may. The star card, okay. So tonight we're just focusing on the Nine of Swords, but I'm very happy to answer your question. Unless one of the viewers would like to answer that, you're very welcome to. If somebody wants to answer Danny, we will do. The star card is many, many, many things. And, you know, please go and look at the podcast and you can look at the tutorials. There's 2 of them, one on the single card of the star card. And there is the tarot tuition on Tuesday where I'll show you how to read that card. But if we were to turn around and give you some keywords, it would be, number 1, it's a huge card connected to Aquarius. Aquarius is the 11th house in astrology, and that connects to our political beliefs, our friendships, social media, would you believe, because it's our social world. It connects to the star sign of Aquarius, and it's the 11th house, so it's about our ideals, our principles, and our political thoughts. And when I say political, I'm not talking about who's in power. I'm talking about the kind of things where we go, do you know what? There's a hole in the pavement, and you know what? A child fell over the other day and somebody stumbled, and it's going to be a problem. We need to get it fixed. That's what I mean. Principles, ideals, Aquarius. It links to Aquarius, our friendship, our neighbourhood, you know. And one of the biggest things that the star card is healing. All right, Danny? So there's much more I could say, but we're not doing the star card, but I'm more than happy to have given you something there. And I always try, can't promise because it takes a bit of time to make those little keywords up that come across the screen. It gives me a chance to sip water. I have to type them all out and then load them all up and put them on. So I always try and get it done. Sometimes it's busy. Right, sorry, passionate Saji. I learnt the Nine of Swords is connected to the law of war, and the carving there looks like a war is taking place. Absolutely, it is. And that, it's, and remember, a war of what? I know that the sword is, you know, it's, trying to think of the word. I'm trying to say what I want to say about tarot, which is it's symbolic of communication. My absolute pleasure. That's what I'm there for. I'm quite happy to go off like that. But what sometimes people say, can I have a reading? And that's like, sorry. And that's why I've got underneath me, get right in a minute. You should be able to see it says tarot intuition. So, you know, and I just don't want people to get muddled, because it was my fault a long time ago that I did a lot of readings on here. That's exactly the point. War of the mind. It is. It's war of the mind, because the sword cuts, but the sword is communication, the sword is our thoughts, and there's an overload of thinking going on right here. And so it's the battle. And so, yeah, you have to really, you know, tarot cards, not how many decks are going to show that? They're not, unless the Rider-Waite Smith based. And if you are learning tarot and you're curious about actually knowing what the cards means, what you see on the screen is Rider-Waite Smith based deck. And yes, I've got 60 odd decks, and some of them are Rider-Waite decks. Some are not, because they're beautiful and I like them and I use them all. And it's really important that, you know, you feel that you're going to get the very best chance of being able to look at your cards. And everyone agrees that it's pretty normal for people to actually encourage a new person to say, why don't you go and look at the Rider-Waite deck, because it's full of symbology and it speaks to you. And once you've actually cracked that, then you're in a position to be able to look further beyond that and maybe spread your wings a little bit and see how you get on. Also, different decks, different people. You know, I've got the Shuffle Tarot deck, very much Rider-Waite based deck, but it's incredibly nuanced, and you really have to keep your wits about you, especially when you saw the 44 card spread that I showed you on the screen. Imagine that much information that you can give, and I show you the method and how to do that on the courses. But having that system, you can go, yeah, they want to know about work, they want to know about finance, that's where I go, that's where I go. They want to know what happened last year, that's where I go. They want to know what's coming in 6 months, yeah, this is how I get 6 months. They want to know about the timing, this is where I get that from. And that's where it all comes in, which is really lovely, right? So, you know, don't forget, this is a card of Nine of Swords. I think what we forget to say to people is, you don't need to do this on your own. You know, you can get the support of others to help you through the dark periods in our life. We've almost have had sleepless nights. And, you know, there's me saying, you know, when I was doing my exams, I hate to admit this, but I was that stressed out at school about exams, and I wasn't in the top class for anything really, English and various bits and pieces. But the stress, I ended up in a right old pickle, and I ended up in hospital through stress before my exams. And it's dreadful. And I was only 15, checking my O-levels. Yeah. I had melena. I ended up with, I was that stressed, my stomach was bleeding. Shows you, doesn't it? You know? Stress at that age. So, that was a little bit of a wake-up call to pay attention and kind of go, So you have my entire empathy, despite this tutorial. I do empathise suffered myself. So we don't have to do it alone, and others will help us. You know, seeing the light in this case is really about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel leads towards a solution and a sense of peace despite our troubles. It's about perspective. That's all it really is. And, you know, when we're on our own and just going round and round in our head ourselves, we are struggling to assess the situation because we're plagued by that negative thinking. And so we need different perspective, particularly from, you know, another party that will help us find our way. So if this came up in, let's say, career reading or work and finances, say we're getting worked up about particular issues causing us stress and anxiety, and, you know, one of the best things we can say to ourselves, remember, it's just a job. Quite hard when you're self-employed though, isn't it? Even if you've made mistakes at work, you know, a fallout will soon be forgotten and you'll soon see that things are not as bad as they seem. So whatever it is that's making you go, oh my goodness, you know. I remember speaking to somebody recently and she said to me, you know, I remember the day, sorry, I'm blinded by my light, that I didn't have to go in there anymore, and I just thought, gosh, that's why I feel happy. And Lynn is in her 70s, and she said, yeah, even now she remembers how stressed she was. So you see, people share things and I don't know why I got so upset, but we do. Been there, seen it, done it, had the surgery for it. No, worn the t-shirt. So yeah, we can get several rejections, you know, and it's because, you know, we're sensitive, we care, and you know, we can get lots of rejection, and so therefore then we go, gosh, how can I stop that happening? How can I feel better about myself? Especially if we're searching for work. So it's about not letting it get you down. You've got to pick yourself up and try and convince yourself you will get a great job. In finances, we're probably stressing and being distressed about financial status and whether they can sustain its situation and whether the current way of living. And, you know, maybe you've lost your job and you're absolutely at the mercy and pressure of everything that needs paying out. It's really a case of trying, instead of worrying, which isn't really going to do anything, you've got to try and start getting a strategy together, haven't you? You know, and try and put things together. That's usually what this card is telling us. Right, we're nearly at the end. So, one of those things that I would say this card's about is sometimes you get a personality. I'm trying to give you a personality now with the minor cards. And a Nine of Swords personality is somebody that worries. And they're engrossed in the worst case scenario, fretting about what's going to happen and how bad a problem can be. We've all met them. These are the kind of people that may come to you through reading. And they often live in a state of high drama and anxiety and allow the stresses to build, and then they draw others into it. And then they wonder why, you know, it's got even worse because they've got no backup and no friends. So trying to point out that, you know, things are, you know, not as bad, and it's, you know, you can turn it around. They don't want to hear it. So a negative self-perception usually hangs over the Nine of Swords personalities, and they regularly pull themselves down or engage in talking glum self-talk. And you can often hear things like, I'm no good at anything, or I'm a failure. And they keep wanting that reassurance. Just got to know that don't get sucked into what they're talking about, and just try and do the best that you can. In a love reading, it will probably tell us that this person's feeling very anxious and that they've not found someone. And sometimes it's a downward spiral. And so this can be, the more that you're worrying about not finding somebody, the more it's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you've got to just break the cycle and try and think positive. We've all been there, and I really feel for people. I'm full of empathy. I totally appreciate how hard it can be, but sometimes that's just very difficult for people to be able to get into that positive mindset and try and break the cycle. But it helps. Perspective from other people helps. So, that brings us to the end, and we're nearly on an hour now. And so I would actually say, if you've got any questions, now's the time to ask. So if you want to be typing that, I'm just going to mention anybody that hasn't sort of seen, there is also podcast for, I'm moving, right, so we've got podcasts there for the Tuesday, and the Tuesday playlist looks different. You see, we are combining cards, and that's how it looks, and so that's where you can find out about that. The other new thing I've got is, I do a lot of astrology. We have pet astrology, so you can have a report for your little pooch, or or whatever, your feathered friends, your fish, whatever. That pet astrology is something that comes up on my website, and you can get a report. There's a lot of articles that I've written. I put a lot of work into that. The reason I've put a lot of work into this is, when you've been doing this for years and you suddenly go, gosh, people don't realise that I am constantly reading for animal lovers about their pets. And it occurred to me that while I was learning my astrology and using my software, that I could actually do this. So I did it with my own. Go on and read the blogs about it. It's absolutely fabulous, and it's really nice, especially if you have rescued a pet, or you want to know more about them. They're sensitive, or their behaviour can really, really help. And I did it on my two, here on my two, there's Jack and Jill. They're both Pisces, minutes apart, but very different personalities. And why? Because, the degrees of where their actual planets are, the time they were born, means they're very, very different, and in their personalities. And there's another one of mine. There's a Turian mini, and we had to kind of guess her birthday, but how accurate it came out, I know she was definitely a Turian. So I'm just saying that so that there's astrology on my site for your pets. And so here I am back, and I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. It's been incredible weather today, very, very hot, and I've got to let my dogs out now because it's been too hot for them to actually do anything. I'll be here on Tuesday with some more tarot, where we'll be looking at the card that we've studied tonight and how to actually blend that and fuse that. Till next time, everybody, I'll play you out as usual. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.